At this point, Susan, I'm getting you the stream marker if you don't mind creating the highlights, please, so that Coach Sarah can stick them in the Facebook groups later since you are in them.
This will be tomorrow morning's Daily Fred will be the videos from tonight. Yay!
And so here we go. The marker going in at 45:27. This is now for maintain. I'm answering the questions in the maintain portion of the fitness protection program. We have 6 questions. I'll take it.
Yeah, we do. I know. We have 5 in rebuild. Actually, one of them she figured it out. So I guess maybe we only have 3 in rebuild.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, let's do maintain.
I usually run on a gravel trail because it's convenient, lovely, and has no traffic. Occasionally, I run on sidewalks and roads. Half marathon day is 4 weeks away. The race is on roads. How often should I be road running versus trail running in these next 4 weeks before the race? Thanks, Coach. My 2 cents on this. I care less about your muscles and the power that you produce. I care more about the tendons, joints, and ligaments and what they're adapted to do. If we're racing on roads, we really need to train on roads. Yes, if they're barring holes in the ground, tree roots, bears, snakes, and things that happen in the woods, trail running on something softer like dirt is better and less impact for your joints than slamming your foot on concrete repeatedly. That's true. The tricky thing is, though, if that's what we're doing, we're training there because it's better on our joints, then what we're doing is we're making race day harder. So ideally, if you've got 4 weeks before the race and you really kind of care about performance, then we need to be on the roads as much as possible. I'm not saying you have to stay there forever as soon as that race is over, or you can just be like, I really don't care what happens at this race. And if that's the case, do the long run sandwich on the roads and everything else on the trails and let it go. It's going to be what it's going to be. You'll feel really the difference when you start fatiguing, because it's a lot more power. It's a lot because you have to propel yourself forward with your muscles when you're running on a trail, because there's no nice energy return right back into your leg the way that you get on a road. And I live for that energy, like refresh popping back into my leg. I don't like being on trails for that reason. That's me. Not everyone feels the way that I do, and I don't need you to agree with me. So it's the answer to every question is always going to sound something like it depends, because it does. There is no categorical right or wrong anywhere, only expectations that are aligned or totally asymmetric. So depending on what you want to get out of that race is really going to determine what you need to do. If you super duper care about performance, we really need about 4 to 6 weeks to get as adapted as possible to running on the road so your joints don't hurt when you actually give half marathon race effort on a road. If you really don't care about performance, you're there for a friend, great. Let's just see what happens. Keep the long run sandwich there on the roads and don't worry about it. Don't do something you hate unless there's a really good reason to. The only reason I could think of getting off the trail and onto the road would be for Susan's 50th birthday or / performance. So if you don't care about performance and it's not Susan's 50th birthday, stay on the trails and don't race on roads. Or do the bare minimum to prepare for a road race so that you can stay on trails the rest of the time. Question 2. I'm registered for the Disney Marathon in January and I want to go to the fair next year with fitness protection. Yay! Ideally, I would like to be able to run a 50K or 50 miles at the fair. How and when should I train for these 2 races? So, you're going to be, as you're training for Disney Marathon in January, you can train for that in Maintain. You can train for stacked races in Maintain. The stacked races option and the Disney options are going to be coming out later this year. And by later this year, I mean by September tops. We can get you, if you're doing Dopey, we can get you, or Goofy, we can get you ready for Dopey or Goofy starting in late August, early September. Because again, that's the beauty of Maintain. So having been in Maintain all the way through to the Disney race, right? And the Disney Marathon is the first. I think it's around the 6th. It's usually the first or the second full weekend in January. So with that, all we need to do is kind of recover from that effort if you're giving it full race effort, and hopefully you're not caught in rain. And then a 50K is totally doable, and a 50 miler is totally doable. You might even be able to do more than that. Think about what you really want to get out of the fair, and we'll talk more about strategy and how to approach the race when we get there, or rather when the harder training for it would really need to start. But you're doing a road marathon and then turning around and doing this road race, so we're not going to have to adapt your body a whole lot. So, like, we had to do, like, Julie ran Rocky Raccoon and then turned around and we had, like, a very short window of time that we had to get all the unicorns, and I'm picking on Julie, but Susan too, we had to get all the unicorns adapted away from trails to the road. And that was hard and was a huge time suck. You guys aren't going to have to go through that. So as long as you're staying really consistent on one surface, 6 months to ramp up to 50 miles in this environment, totally doable. Ramping up from a marathon on the roads to 50 miles at like the North Face Endurance Race, that's like 6 months of solid work. That is a different question. That is a different question. Trails, when it comes to roads, road races are all remarkably similar because if a car can get on it, yay! You're not going to find a road race where a car can't go. That kind of defeats the purpose of a road. When it comes to a trail races really want to be where you can't go with a car. That's the draw of a trail and the draw of a trail race. So the slope is very different. The look is very different. The ascent and descent, single track, the whole terrain is just night and day. There is no comparing a trail event, any trail event, to a road event in any way, shape, or form. I would argue that the variation between road races really isn't that large. Between a trail race, it's gigantic, and most 50Ks, 50 milers, ultra distances are indeed on trails. So 3 days at the fair is not that kind of trail. If you're trying to go from anything on the road to 3 days at the fair, we don't need a whole lot of time to get you ready for it. If you're trying to don't read this and be like, oh, she says I can be ready for any 50 miler very quickly. Not true. Depends on the 50 miler. And it depends on what you did before. I have 2 questions. Number 1, at the end of my weekday run, I have a downhill. After doing easy effort, I just want to let it go for the last 2 to 3 minutes of that downhill. Do it. I've done it on my last few runs and it felt so good for both me and my dog who goes with me a lot. Is this okay? Yeah, girl. Shoot, do it. If it feels good and it's within reason, and that's totally reasonable, do it. I can't give you permission to like let the heart rate cap go every single day because that makes you happy. That's going to catch up with you. 2 to 3 minutes at the end of a downhill, sit into the hill, practice your form, think about control, think about making it as effortless as possible. Like, I'm going to see if I can go faster and bring my heart rate down on this hill. Awesome. There are different ways to go about it. Running downhill will make you more efficient. Go do it and go have fun with it. But if you're running downhill and your heart rate is climbing, that's just, I'm not saying stop what you're doing. It's just something to think about because we don't want that happening in a race. The downhill is always going to be for recovery. It's always a time where you get a little gravity assist, a little extra something for nothing. And just don't get into the habit of pressing on the downhills because it's a habit that'll be really hard to break on race day when you're not thinking clearly, you're very excited, and you're effectively what's happening in your brain is what I described earlier. Your central nervous system is just overloaded with messages, too many coming at it at once. So, question 2, I just signed on for the free Hoffer Run for Women in Albany next Saturday. I'm going with my daughter and 2 coworkers. It's 5K. I did it last year and felt so empowered being surrounded and encouraged by all types of runners. It's amazing. I'm not going for time, just the fun and cookies. How should I add it to my calendar? Do what's written. I have to work Thursday and Friday, 13-hour shifts. Whew, I'm a nurse. Bless your heart. Thank you for your service. I was thinking consider the 5K my Friday run and do my easy effort on Sunday. I mean, what do you want to do? I would say we are not in a training cycle. You can do whatever you want. You can miss a long run and it's not the end of the world. So if I were you, and you really want to kind of like race the 5K, shoot, you've got 2 13-hour shifts. Take those 2 days off, show up, race the bejesus out of that 5K on Saturday, then take Sunday off, sleep, catch up on all the sleep you didn't do, and then use that as a justification because you ran a 5K really hard. So you got to rest and everybody needs to help you out around the house. That's it. And then don't look back. That's kind of what I would do. A 5K is going to tear you up more than a fast 5K, a well-executed 5K, is going to do more impact to your joints, and it's going to take more out of you physically and emotionally than a half where you could have arguably, definitely, for sure, legit gone faster. It's not about the time, it's about that effort. Intensity is going to kill you. So to that effect, I say if you're going into it a little bit tired, take the 2 days off before, Thursday, Friday. Do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as written. Take Thursday and Friday off completely. Race on Saturday, and then just chill back on plan on Monday. That's what I would do. And don't worry about what you missed because you're not behind. You just raced a 5K. It totally makes sense. So that's, again, I'm not going to go any further. That's what I would do, but do what works for you. Don't be afraid to miss a run or 2 here. Be afraid of missing runs becoming a habit if there's something on the calendar that you are excited about later in the year.
Yep.
Hi, another question. I did my long run today and felt pretty good, but my pace is still not great. I was told today make sure they are not junk miles. Oh, I hate people. What does this even mean, and how do I know I'm getting what I need? I feel so good. I let myself go the last 5 minutes after keeping my heart rate below 140 for 2 hours, 10 minutes, and felt so good. I'm hoping that's okay. Yeah, girl, that's fine. You know what? Buttheads are buttheads, and they don't know what they're talking about. Just remember way back when I started talking about the concept of coachless unloved amateurs, and it wasn't to diss those people. It wasn't to say like, oh, you don't do what I do, there's something wrong with you. It's the flip side of that. I'm not doing what they're doing, I must be doing something wrong. That was my assumption for a really long time. Don't let that be your default position either. I don't know what they think junk miles are, and if this person and I were to sit down and talk, I don't know that we're going to agree on what junk miles are, because there's no consensus on what junk miles are. The term came about around the time of, or it became popular, I suppose, around the time that Run Less, Run Faster came out. And someone who has been incredibly fit as it's possible to be, i.e. an Olympian, not the fittest you've ever been, but the fittest your body could become. There comes a point where it's like, you're as fit, you've got this incredible cardiovascular base, you really don't need to do as many easy effort runs anymore. And honestly, that time comes for people when your easy effort, your pace at 130 is around a 7-minute mile. Then yeah, we've probably maxed out or come pretty close to maxing out what we can do cardiovascularly. All other gains are going to have to come from strength and upping your VO2 max in other ways. Remember how I said like a really fit athlete is like a tube of toothpaste? It's like an empty tube of toothpaste, right? You got to know where to squeeze and how to hold it to get anything out of it. An unfit person like me right now, yay, you can squeeze anywhere and get results. Whoop! That's amazing. That is amazing. So the person that is that is like super fit and or has like at some point maxed out what they're capable of doing cardiovascularly and is no longer competitive, they might consider the easy effort run in that context to them to be a junk mile, which is really sad because I love running and I love jogging so much. I can't imagine looking at that at my Tuesday run and thinking that's pointless. I don't want to do it. It's junk miles.
I know.
I don't like the term junk miles. I don't generally know what other people mean when they say them. I know what was referred to as sort of like cutting out the chaff in that book, and he had a good point, but that point was not for everyone. It was for a very specific audience. People kind of like cherry picked what they liked out of that book and don't really read the whole thing with both eyes all the way through. So I say this again lovingly, like, I don't know what that guy was talking about, and I'm not sure why I've already wasted like 5 minutes trying to say I don't know who that guy is, what he means, or what he talks about, but don't let him get in your head because he probably doesn't know what he's talking about either. There are a lot of people that have been doing this for a long time that don't necessarily know what they're talking about. If you're doing what I asked you to do and you're not hurting yourself and you enjoyed being out there and it sounds like you did, then what is wrong with that? What could possibly be junky in that world? I think I have said, and I'm going to close on this, that you can junk your miles, and that's when you have an easy effort run and someone, a dickhead, makes a comment like this to you, and because you get nervous and think like, oh, I better do what they're doing, and then you go race them, then you're probably gone too hard, too fast, you effectively raced it, and you're not getting the workout benefits that were designed as a part of the training plan that you were on. And so that is a case of junking your miles. Going into that, though, it's not junk miles. So people are going to say all kinds of things to you, and you just got to smile and nod and just think to yourself, coachless unloved amateurs, there's no guarantee. I know what I'm doing. There's no guarantee he knows what he's doing. There's no guarantee he knows what he's talking about. I know what I'm doing. Not well enough to articulate it, but I am coached, I am loved, I am winning at life. Because you are.
And can I add one thing, too?
Yeah.
So this person says, but my pace is still not great. And I have a feeling that I know what is meant by that is that my pace is still slower than I would like it to be. And if I could just say one thing, like try to really sit with that and ask yourself, like, what is it that makes me frame it that way? What is it that makes me say like my pace is not that great?
Good question, because your easy effort pace is faster than mine right now, Sarah.
Well, and my easy effort pace right now when I run easy effort, I feel like I'm running, and that's wonderful. And I'm really happy with where my running is right now. I feel very, very, very happy. Like you were saying earlier, everything is easy when you're fit. Like I'm fit enough that a lot of things feel easy to me right now, and that's great. My easy effort pace would have been unacceptable to me 5 years ago. Like I spent years not actually running with any kind of watch, not even like a cheapo watch that just tells you the time of day, because like I did not want to know how, I didn't want to know any information about how far I had run or how fast I had run, because I couldn't handle anything slower than a 10-minute mile.
Yeah.
A 10-minute mile. And I don't run a 10-minute, I don't run close to a 10-minute mile right now, my easy effort pace. And I would have not have been able to live with that. And even when I was running like a little faster than 10-minute mile, I still didn't feel that great about that. I didn't want to tell anybody that my running pace was a 10-minute mile. I didn't feel like that was great, you know? When I was on my run this morning on the river, I passed by my cousin's girlfriend who qualified for Boston in her first marathon, running a 3:13 last year. So who the fuck knows what her easy effort pace is? Like, when I was around runners like that, I would be like, well, I can't talk about my pace around them or anything like that, because they're not gonna think that I'm a real runner. And I've challenged myself a lot about that thinking in the last several years. And I would just really encourage you to kind of walk right up to that and say, where is this coming from? And can I not, and I don't want to, I'm not shooting you. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel that way. I'm saying, like, think critically about that a little bit.
Yeah, even I would argue, like, why ask? I mean, some people are just never going to give it to you. Some people are just going to be like, oh, well, bleh. And the fact that you've taken the bait, I mean, do what you want to do, but be careful engaging. Sorry, just to throw that in there. Like, I don't play games that are rigged against me. I don't. That doesn't, and a lot of people tell me that I have an attitude problem, and I'd be like, you just got the wrong girl.
I meant ask yourself, like sit with yourself and be like, why am I talking about my pace this way? Oh, no, fuck that guy. Don't talk to that guy about fucking chunk miles.
Right.
No, sit with yourself and say, why am I talking about my pace this way, and where is that coming from?
Because you know what, at the end of the day, what makes you a real runner? Having a coach! And you do, I bet that guy doesn't.
Through that.
Just saying. Yep. Real runners have coaches. Real runners run and they have coaches. If just being here, part of this and working with me and having a coach doesn't make you feel legit, seriously, nothing will. And you are. Own it. Got to move through this. We're already an hour in. Sorry, Sarah. No. It's all good. I love it when you jump in. I'm just like, I spent 40 minutes on the first question. Hi, Coach MK and Coach Sarah. I have a TRX and know that MK does some TRX workouts. To be clear, MK does some guided TRX workouts in a gym setting with an instructor. Any running specific exercise recommendations for me to do with the TRX? The most important thing you can do with the TRX, there would be guided squats and guided lunges. And by guided, I mean like you're using the TRX bars to guide yourself. So to that end, what matters more than that is that you're watching your setup and you're watching your knee, and that you've got a mirror set up appropriately. If you've ever watched when I do an Instagram live when I'm in my TRX class, it looks like Liberace's bathroom in there. It is wall to wall, floor to ceiling mirrors. I'm watching myself in my posture and my form, my alignment from every angle. And if doing TRX is one thing. Doing TRX correctly with mirrors and good form is another thing entirely. Anything that requires you to squat can either make your booty stronger or it can tear your knees up. So all I ask is if you do guided squats and lunges will be safer with the TRX when done properly, and those are two of the best things you could possibly do with the TRX if you have that available in your home. Last question to maintain. My father-in-law was diagnosed with brain cancer 7 weeks ago and passed away this morning. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Needless to say, I didn't run yesterday. My schedule through the winter has been somewhat erratic and probably won't be able to run again until Wednesday or Thursday. Can I hop back on the plan as written? Yes. Yes, you can. Should I ease back in with easy effort runs? There's no should here. Give yourself permission to do whatever it is you need to do. If you wake up and there's a harder run and you've got some feelings that you want to try to get out and leave out on the road, do that harder run if you can, but don't be afraid to stop if it's not working for you. I wouldn't categorically say like every run that you do has to be easy. I will say that when you don't know what to do, you cannot go wrong with avocado toast, and that's 30 to 60 minutes easy effort with 4 to 6 strides at the end. So Listening to your body is the most advanced thing you can do. Let's do that, especially now. Give yourself grace. You are by no means behind, but you're also, if you're a little bit slower right now, it's because you're dealing with a whole lot of stress. Your body does not differentiate between physiological and emotional stress, physiological and psychological stress. We call it just eustress, positive stress, but when you're like, anything is going on, it's in your brain, and there's a whole lot of it. That's going to impact what you do, and that's going to impact how you feel. So don't discount it and try to force yourself to do what's on the plan. You have permission to do what's on the plan, but you also have the grace in this guided DIY framework to not do what's written and to do nothing. If you just want to go out and take a walk too, take care of yourself first. The training will be there. The score will take care of itself. So that's it. I'm going to need to lean into my running while life comes down, and I don't want to hurt myself doing so. Well, that's why you don't go making up hard effort runs and go like run until you feel better, run until your brain calms down, run until you can't feel anything anymore. That's